Name of the story Captive. Written and read by Deepa Varde. Negotiating the turn, the car entered the village. Manohar grinned at his distressed friend seated beside him. Wake up, Shashi, look out. We have entered Safari. All he heard was a listless grunt from his co passenger. He laughed. Don't tell me you're already tired. What's a 7-hour drive? It's hardly any distance. Shashi smiled sheepishly. Even considering taking the wheels in turn, Mumbai Safari is quite a distance. And when someone else is at the wheel, I don't rest comfortably. Shashi's distorted face made Manohar once again break into a healthy laughter. Never mind, he sobered. Before going to our property, let's check into the hotel, freshen up, and then we will move ahead. Sounds heavenly. Shashi was in fact very reluctant to accompany Manohar to his village. In the preceding week, he had, along with his family, been to a trip to Rajasthan. Just as he had overcome the lassitude of that trip, he had to make this far-fetched trip with Manohar. Had it been anyone else other than him, Shashi would have flatly refused. But Manohar was altogether a different story. They went to the same school and graduated from the same engineering college. Their bond was surely a cut above the rest of his friends. Despite Manohar having migrated to New York and was returning after 20 and some odd years, he had honestly maintained their friendship. Although Shashi was not so very particular in sending mails, Manohar would religiously write to him at regular intervals. Through such written conversations, Shashi learnt all major and tidbits about Manohar's life. Manohar married an Indian girl settled there. He had 3 children, 2 elder sons and a younger daughter. All would lovingly call her Barbie. Manohar loved her to no limits. There was never a single message in which Barbie's reference, her pranks, or anecdotes were not mentioned. His eldest son was extremely intelligent and wanted to pursue the medical stream. The second one, a teenager, was yet unclear about his options. Barbie was the youngest, barely 6, a sweet mistake according to Manohar. Everything was going just picture perfect when suddenly Manohar came up with an idea. I'm returning to India, he announced. Naturally, his wife and children vehemently opposed it. I haven't heard anything more ridiculous than this, she defied. Initially, everyone assumed that this urge of his would die down with time. But seeing that he had started the process of winding up in right earnest, it set an alarm. He was profusely dissuaded by his wife, friends, and relatives. Children strongly protested, but to no avail. Manohar was firm with his decision. Manohar's wife Neeta, although born and brought up there, had lots of relatives staying in Mumbai. Initially, she, along with the children, would have found it a bit difficult to adjust. They had relatives to support them and help them in settling down. But what Manohar was planning shook everyone to the core. You really mean it, Manohar? Of course I do. I want to purchase land at my native place, Safari, construct a house, and try my hand at farming. What's wrong with that? I don't understand. I'm truly at loss of words. Let alone its impracticality and foolhardiness, even you will have to agree that it's an insurmountable task. I don't think so, he retorted. Have you thought about our children? You really think kids born and brought up in New York will get acclimatized to the village life? You cannot be more wrong. You are jeopardizing all our lives for your some fancy whim. Listen, Neeta, don't get me wrong. I will understand if you do not wish to accompany me. Let's buy a nice place in Mumbai. You all can settle there. But I am most certainly going to Safari. That's non-negotiable. But will visit you as frequently as possible. My dear, Safari is no longer a remote, underdeveloped village I had described it to you. There is electricity, phones are available. Konkan Railway actually passes through our village. I can reach Mumbai in exactly 4 hours. What more do you want? True. What more can someone ask for? Such a technologically advanced place. I believe it must be second California. She rolled her eyes. Her sarcasm was methodically ignored. Manohar was determined to carry out his plans and nothing would deter it. He had already informed Shashi of his intentions. You are the only person who will truly understand me, Shashi. Safari is in my bloodstream. My entire childhood was spent at my grandparents' place in Safari. After my grandfather expired, all my uncles separated. The eldest one forcibly took possession of our ancestral home. By then, father had already settled in Mumbai. Later, this uncle sold that house for pittance. What more can be expected from a chronic alcoholic here? Last I heard, a missionary school is being run there. Summation of the story is we lost our ancestral home. What else? I have decided to return to my roots. I won't be at peace until I return home. By God's grace, money is no issue at all. Like others, even Shashi was a bit skeptical about Manohar's idea. I think you should not hurry. Come down for a vacation. Let's go to Safari. Do not forget there is a gap of 20 odd years between the Safari nestled in your memory and that exists now. God forbid, but what if you don't identify with the current one? What do you do then? So come over, see the Safari in current state. It can act as a litmus test for you. But for God's sake, do not close the avenues in a haste. In spite of being notorious for his adamancy, Manohar somehow acceded to Shashi's suggestion. Along with his family, he came over to India on a vacation, dropped his family at his cousin Pami's bungalow in Mumbai, and along with Shashi set out for Safari. The car stopped in front of a posh hotel. How come you know this place? Shashi asked in admiration. Pami's husband gave me the address. He grinned. You know what, Shashi? Like you said, Safari has undergone gigantic transformation. No doubt about it. But I still feel this makeover is superficial. On closer look, I do see the resemblance of my old village. Okay, let me explain it to you better. See, for instance, the Hanuman temple that we crossed. The marble wall claddings, the shop attached to the temple, the lightings, and rest of the paraphernalia. Everything is new. But the main idol inside the temple is the very same. Or the road to the market. It was a narrow, muddy road once upon a time. It has been tarred now. But the banyan tree that still stands at the corner of the road is the same. We grew up swinging on its branches. Such remembrances gladdens me. It's as though Safari is impressing upon me that she hasn't changed. She's still the same. Okay, tell me, how does the program go from here? If you are very tired, we can always go to the property tomorrow, Shashi. That will surely give you a restless night, he laughed. I'm well aware of how much you crave to see your place, Manohar. Let's freshen up and meet in the hotel lobby after an hour. It's 5 p.m. now. Let's visit your property before dark. Affirmative, sir. Manohar smiled happily. Almost an hour later, they hit the road. I still remember these roads, Shashi. If you even today leave me in some bylane, I will still find my way out. I'm sure of it. He was on a pleasant trip down the memory lane. After negotiating some turns, the car entered a side road. Now the houses were few and far between. Single-storied chawls and shops were left behind. A lone bungalow amidst orchards of mango, jackfruit, betel nuts, coconut trees was visible, or a small house with Mangalore tiles roofing could be seen. Some structures were new, but most of them appeared to be old. Manya, are we away from the main village? There seems to be quite a gap between two houses. Not exactly, but we are far from the main marketplace. Oh, that explains. And your house? Just around the corner, right hand side of the road. The car took a smooth turn and came to a halt. Manohar switched off the engine but did not move. His clenched fingers on the steering wheel and damp eyes portrayed a series of conflicting emotions. His Adam's apple quivered. Shashi felt inappropriate to disturb Manohar's deep trance. This was his grieving time and he needed to be alone. He just sat still beside him. After some time, Manohar exhaled a deep breath and regained his composure. Let's go, he said. They crossed the road. You know what, Shashi? There used to be a big wooden gate here, and my grandmother had lovingly adorned it with Madhumalti ivies. It was as though those shy tiny flowers were there to welcome the visitors. Just the first glimpse of this gate would give a sense of homecoming. And see the destiny. In its place, I have to witness the school nameplate here. I honestly cannot comprehend why he sold that house to those missionaries. The overwhelming helplessness and deep sadness in Manohar's voice touched Shashi too. He just wrapped a comforting hand around Manohar's shoulder. Thank you for not magnanimously telling me not to cry over spilt milk. Both laughed. But Shashi, I have decided I will purchase a property nearby. My roots are here. As far as Nita is concerned, I would love if she is there with me, but I won't force her. Yes, but I am returning to my roots. I belong here. They pushed the iron gates and entered the property. There were three whitewashed, identical single-storied buildings standing in a row facing the road. It was impossible to visualize if there were any more such structures behind them. Surprisingly, Manohar's grandfather's old bungalow was retained and was standing indifferently like a sage amongst these structures. Manohar felt his heart doing a somersault. If possible, I would have embraced my house with both my hands. His voice shook with unshed tears. Manohar looked around. There was absolute silence everywhere. The school must have closed for the day, he muttered to himself. Just then he saw a man clad in white robe approaching them. His overall attire and the silver cross woven in a black thread seen on his chest was a testimony to his priesthood. Both greeted him. Where are you coming from? He asked. Manohar then introduced himself and Shashi. Oh, I see. So the prodigal has returned, the father said with a smile. Not exactly, but it is my heartfelt desire to purchase a similar property nearby. Why not? There is a broker named DeCosta here. I will give you his address and phone number. He knows the area very well and is reliable too. See if he can be of any help to you. Father, you have maintained our old house. Thank you so much. He joined hands. I felt extremely nostalgic seeing it. Father smiled. Why demolish such a strong and well-built house? We have a mess and a chapel on the ground floor, and the upper rooms are used to reside. Shashi, we had so many mango, jackfruit, almond trees surrounding our house here. His voice choked with emotions. Oh son, you need not feel sad. We haven't cut even a single of those trees. The ones that were coming in the construction area were very carefully uprooted and replanted, and they all have survived. Whatever may be the course of events and however painful, one thing is rest assured that our property is in good hands, Father, he said with utmost honesty. Father, one request, may I? Please go ahead. Can I tour the place along with my friend? Most certainly. In fact, I would have gladly accompanied you, but it's my prayer time and I am already late. Father apologetically looked at his watch. Don't worry, father. You please continue. I will show Shashi around and then we will leave. We surely will meet again. After shaking hands with them, the priest left. Come, I'll show you the backyard. Manohar was engrossed in locating, recognizing old things, and narrating related stories to Shashi. My grandfather had made a big playground for us to play. Now a stone wall has taken the place of the boundary which was once made of wild hedges, he said. Abutting the boundary majestically stood those famous mango, jackfruit, coconut, and almond trees. Manohar was overwhelmed on seeing the well in the corner. Come here, Shashi. Look how deep the well is. It's never devoid of water, however crouching the summers turn out. And the water is so cold that it can give a run to the refrigerated water. And did you see the water wheel? After God knows how many years, she's still as good as new and sturdy. Do you know why? It's made of best quality teak wood. The entire framework of the bungalow is also made of such teak. What a magnificent piece of architecture this bungalow is. Maybe tomorrow, with that priest's permission, I can give you a tour of it. I just cannot fathom why this bloody uncle had to sell our place to those outsiders. He should have at least asked us. We would have bought it. It's as though he took revenge on some misdeeds done to him in his previous birth. Or must be just a bad seed. That sounds more appropriate. He ruffled his hair angrily. Come, I will show you the boundaries of our property. Shashi followed him. Here starts the boundary between the two properties. Shashi looked around but did not see any, apart from two poles that were situated poles apart. No wall? Just these poles? No fear of encroachment? Manohar laughed. Here our property ends. The other side belongs to Shirodkar. Rather used to. I am unaware of the current status now. Okay, about the demarcation in the wall. This is taken to be the Vetoba's path. Vetoba is the guarding god of the village. No one dare construct a wall in his path. Even if someone attempts to, the wall is found broken the next day, and so does the bones of the person who has the audacity to do it. Here, everyone respects one another's boundaries. Do you see that structure in the corner? Now it was getting dark. Shashi narrowed his eyes to have a better look. Few feet away was a small, maybe 1 or 1.5 feet structure of local laterite stone abutting a shrub. What is it? It's a Vetoba's temple. My grandmother used to light a lamp here every evening. Look at the condition now. Serves Vetoba right. Instead of breaking fences, had he broken that notorious uncle's neck, probably somebody from our family would have been still lighting a lamp here. Manya, take it easy, yaar. You are taking even God to task. I feel so helpless, Shashi. Like I've come to a dead end. It's a very depressing thought, let me tell you. Leave it. Let's move back before it gets pitch dark. Just as they moved, they heard sounds of footsteps walking on dry fallen leaves. They instantly turned. An old lady, slightly humpbacked, wearing a 9-yard sari with a lantern in her hand, entered the treading path between the two poles. With heavy steps, she reached Vetoba's temple and kept the lantern down. The small container made of clay that she had brought with her was kept before Vetoba. She lit the cotton wick in it, joined hands, and paid obeisance to the deity. Oh, okay. So Vetoba has managed to make his own arrangement in this manner, Manohar quipped. Listening to the voice, the old woman turned. Who are you? She lifted the lantern up. Manohar recognized her face in the lantern's light. Shama Vaini? You are Shamaveni, right? Yes, I am. But who are you? I did not recognize you. Vahini, I am Manohar. Manohar Samant. It's unlikely that you will recognize me. You may have heard about me. Just an outer chance. You know what, Vahini? I have attended your marriage ceremony. I was in 10th standard then. She laughed sincerely. Where are you located at present? Like a key operated toy, Manohar once again rattled out his entire story. So you will be looking for a place to stay. Indefinitely you cannot stay in a hotel. So why don't you stay in our bungalow? I stay with my son in Ratnagiri. I only come here on a new moon day to light a lamp to Vetoba and offer a coconut to the guardian snake in our property. You can stay at our bungalow if you wish. I can give you the keys. Manohar was overwhelmed by the suggestion. It would enable him to stay close to his ancestral home too. I cannot thank you enough, Shamaveni. We would love to. As of now, we will be here for only few days. But I will be coming back again very soon. Looking for a property, then those formalities, it's quite time consuming. Very true. Sadhu, who stays in Khalchiwadi, does such works. You do contact him. He will show you some good options. Now I will take your leave. Shall I accompany to your place? It's quite dark now. Don't worry. I can reach my house from here even if I am blindfolded. Manohar and Shashi turned back to retrace their steps. I have made a final decision here and now, Shashi. I am moving back to Chaferi. You see, it's strong intuition. Everything is perfectly falling in place. It's called beginner's luck. Manohar said, and the water wheel spun so hard, breaking the silence and startling both of them. How did the water wheel spin suddenly? Shashi stammered. Maybe a bird sitting on it must have flown, causing it to spin. Such a heavy wheel? Maybe. Manohar offered a lame explanation. In fact, even he could not fathom how the water wheel had spun as though someone had pushed it hard. Both returned to the hotel, deadbeat. A peg and a frugal dinner. They retired to their respective rooms. Let's plan tomorrow. Good night, Manohar suggested. It was nearly 8 a.m. when Manohar parked his car in front of the Shirodkar's bungalow. Samant and Shirodkar's backyards have been touching neighbors for generations together. Children from both households use this expanse to play during vacation. Manohar knew Shirodkar's house like his own. He stood staring at the bungalow for a while. Kaneri had grown haphazardly, blocking a clear view of the structure. Shamaveni, sitting on the swing in the veranda, caught up on seeing Manohar walking towards her. I was waiting for you, she smiled. These are the keys, and hand them over to the priest when you leave. She picked up her small cloth bag lying on the swing. Come, let me drop you to the bus stop, Shamaveni. Don't be silly. It's just a stone throw away. Even if I sneeze here, you'll be able to hear it there, she laughed. Ignoring her protest, Manohar dropped her at the bus stop and collected water bottles and snacks on the way back home. He opened the front door, and along with that, gates of so many memories, some forgotten, some hidden in the deep closet of the mind. He smiled sadly to himself. If only I could be in my own house, which is so nearby but so elusive now. Manohar knew the entire arrangement of these 8 rooms as his own. He opened the windows. Cleaning is a must, he muttered to himself. He brought his portable bag from the car, changed clothes and picked up the broom lying in the corner of the room. Just the first room put a cramp in his arm. Not being used to such work and dust, he started sneezing. Manohar decided to clean the first room and the kitchen. That would serve the purpose for now, and would request the priest to help him get someone for cleaning, as he realized this was absolutely not his cup of tea. He was engrossed in removing the last of the cobwebs when the stool he was standing on suddenly shook, and the broom dropped out of his hand. He almost fell, but managed to recover his balance. Oh God! He looked down, and a soft, melodious laughter reverberated in the whole bungalow. Blinking his eyes, he looked down again. A young woman stood holding the stool. She was wearing a 9-yard sari, hair loosely tied in a round bun on her nape. Two large, sensuous eyes were staring from a lovely, fair, round face, sharp nose, and a determined chin. Her somewhat thick pink lips were parted in a natural and spontaneous smile. May I get down? Are you asking for my permission? She asked with a suppressed laughter. He was surprised at her familiarity. She shook the stool once again playfully, and on seeing Manohar anxious and scared, again let out a peal of laughter. The reason for asking the permission is if I fall and break a bone or two, I am unaware if we do have a orthopedic in the near vicinity. Get down, I won't shake the stool. She stood aside with folded hands, gently tapping her pale, narrow porcelain feet rhythmically. Her anklets, pile, let out a nice tinkle sound, chum, chum, pleasing to the ears. Manohar at last got down, his legs still trembling. Who are you? He asked. The woman's face looked familiar, but could not place who she was. Didn't you recognize me? She asked in a tone that displayed hurt. To be honest, no. Manohar, I am Saki. An element of recognition appeared in Manohar's eyes. Saki? Is that really you? I wouldn't have recognized you even if my life depended on it. Manohar shouted in abundant astonishment. He stood wide-eyed gazing at her, who stood there bashfully swinging herself from side to side, smiling happily. He looked at her more closely now. This Saki is my age, he thought, which means a good margin above 40. Then how does she manage to look so youthful and nubile? That too daughter of a maid servant. The amount of hardships they go through need not be stated. He remembered those days back then. Saki's mother Janki worked for his grandmother. She could barely feed herself and her child. Manohar's grandmother would serve them proper meal each morning before she started her work. In fact, just because the missionaries distributed free grains and medical aid to these people, she had converted herself, accepted Christianity. Saki, with her translucent skin and sharp features, would always stand out amongst all the children. She had a soft spot for Manohar and would always follow him around like a doting pup, he reminisced. And today, after so many years, the same Saki stood before him and he was unable to recognize her. She's bound to feel upset, he thought to himself. I didn't have my spectacles on, Saki, hence this blunder. Do you really think any red-blooded male can forget a beauty like you? He cajoled. Saki's face lit up. She exulted on hearing the praise. To keep her widening smile in check, she bit her coral-like lower lip with the snow-white teeth. Manohar was thoroughly mesmerized by the picture she created. He could not take his eyes off her. By sheer willpower, he turned around and picked up the broom. Manohar, you step aside. I'll clean up everything here now. I'm used to these works. See how fast I complete? She tucked the pallu, end part of the sari border, on her fair navel. Absolutely not. And anyway, I have almost finished cleaning up here. Then allow me to complete the rest and take the credit. That's smart, he teased. Okay, do as you wish. Meanwhile, I'll bring water from your well for you. These water bottles will hardly last for long. And also, you will have the satisfaction of drinking water from your own well. Sounds just perfect, Saki, he laughed. Yes, and why not? The water from Saman's well will give a run to the refrigerated water. Manohar was startled. How did she make the same statement about the well water? Before he could even react, she walked out with the kulsi, the sound emanating from her anklet's pile slowly diminishing. Manohar cleared the remaining room. As he was doing so, Saki reappeared. Are you done with? I have arranged water in the bathroom in the backside of the house. Go finish your bath. Till then, I will think of cooking something. Cooking? What are you going to cook? He laughed. We hardly have any supplies. Don't worry on that aspect. I have already got material with me. It's just that for today, I won't be able to make an elaborate meal. Will bhakri and pitla suffice? My mouth is already watering. By the way, Saki, how did you come to know that I am here? I had met Shirodkar Vaini yesterday. Oh, that explains. And where do you stay? Just behind. Behind? Means at the back side. Now go and have your bath before the spider stuck in your hair weave a cobweb on your face. She laughed. Manohar was welcomed with an aroma of garlic tadka. He felt his gastric fire aflame. He peeped in the kitchen and was astonished by the sight before him. Large, small utensils, tins, plates were neatly arranged beside the running stove. And where did you find all this? I broke open the kitchen cupboard. There are many more inside, she said nonchalantly. But Shamavaini, you don't worry. Before we leave, I will put it back in its proper place. Come, let me serve you lunch. Instead, let's sit together. No, you sit. I'll serve, she said. This is as though my dream has come true, which I have pined for many years, she murmured under her breath. He turned around. What did you say? Nothing. She smiled innocently. The pitla reminded him of his grandmother. Aji used to make it, I remember. This one has the same taste, Saki. His eyes glinted with unshed tears. He cleared his throat and gulped the memories with a mouthful of water. So you were saying, where do you exactly live, Saki? I told you in the backside. Don't give me such fleeting answers. Okay, there is a small path going downhill behind Shirodkar's bungalow. I won't be able to precisely tell you. If you want, I will take you there once. Is this answer good enough? It wasn't, but he saw no point in pursuing. Okay, tell me about your family. She laughed. Am I married? Is that what you want to know? I'm not. I stay alone. Strange. Such a stunning beauty. I thought the suitors must have fallen over themselves to marry you. Maybe they would have if they had seen me. What does that mean? Let's leave the subject alone. The life here is listless. Tell me about yourself, your wife, your children, your career. That much of prodding was enough for Manohar. He narrated his entire life story with elan. His job, his plans, dreams, wife, children, and his very soul, his baby. After lunch, both resumed the remaining work. By the time they completed the task, it was night time. After having a nice dinner prepared by Saki, both decided to sit on the swing in the veranda. It's so dark here. It's Amavasya, new moon, she said. Oh, that explains. And the bulbs are of no help due to low voltage. Saki, why don't you take your feet up? We wouldn't know if some snake crawls up in this darkness. Don't worry, I'm perfectly alright. Manohar realized that she was shy to put her feet up near him. So he bent down and lifted her small, delicate feet up and placed them beside him. What are you doing, Manohar? She tried to pull back her feet, but Manohar quickly caught them in his palm. Be still. See, we both can sit comfortably by stretching our feet this way. You keep your feet beside me and I'll do the same. Very soon both were lost in conversation once again. There was no dearth of subjects. Yet Manohar was speaking the most, and Saki was intently listening to his each and every word religiously. Manohar was so engrossed in the conversation that he did not realize he was playing with those two layered pile anklets of hers until one small ghungru bell dislodged from it and fell into his palms. Oh God, I'm so sorry, Saki. I honestly am. He apologized profusely. Not a big deal. Relax, Manohar. No, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize until. Stop it. It's very much okay. Silly of me, really. Okay, do one thing. Give me the anklet, the pile, to me tomorrow. I will get it mended from the goldsmith. Keep this carefully. He held the small ghungru towards her. Now, you keep it. Fine. He put it in his shirt pocket. By the way, Saki, I have been trying to ask you this question right from morning. But somehow I get digressed. Where did you find this pile? So old, made of brass. They look fit to be in some museum. He laughed. She suddenly went quiet, staring at her feet for a long time. You remember, you had come here for vacation. You were in 10th standard then. That was the last time we met. It was Shama Vaini's wedding. All girls had decided to wear payal. I also asked my mother for money. All I got was a rap on my back. Poor her. Even if she wanted to, she couldn't have. As usual, I ran up to you. You immediately gave me the money. Must be your pocket money, I'm sure. She smiled fondly. And here they are. She tapped her feet. Did you specifically wear them today? Nah, Re. They are permanently on my feet. Manohar was deeply touched. The episode left him bewildered. He cleared his throat. Saki, it's late. You go home now. I'll drop you. Get up. I have come with my clothes. I will stay until you are here. I can sleep on the swing. You go inside and rest now. What a crazy thought. You really think I'll allow you to sleep here? You can sleep in the hall. I can take the other room. Both have fans. Saki stayed back. She would take care of all household chores. Manohar got busy taking inspection of properties through various brokers. He would return home tired and mostly dejected. She would look after him and his needs. Sometimes Manohar felt very burdened, but she wouldn't allow him to move a thing. Don't you like the way I work? Correct me if I am wrong, if I am not good enough. I'll learn. What are you saying, Saki? In fact, I make you work a lot and I honestly feel guilty about it. It's no trouble at all. In fact, I love doing these things for you. My hands are most certainly not going to get coarse doing such inconspicuous works. She would laugh, her signature melodious laughter. She would open her palms before him. Feel them? See for yourself. Are they coarse? And then he would get lost in those pink, soft, shapely palms. Flexible movements of her long fingers, which carried the hidden promise of intense, sensual pleasures, and the set of green bangles enhancing her youthful, delicate wrist. However, he tried to dissuade himself. He found his mind had developed a will of its own. Unwittingly, it would get drawn to evaluating her features. He would often find himself staring at her. Her well-endowed curves, the roundings of her lower body, more pronounced because of the 9-yard sari she wore, shapely, softly rounded, supple calf muscles, small, beautiful pink feet attached to it. God knows his colossal efforts. He would try his level best in tearing his gaze away from her, but somehow they would betray him and stick to her. Saki would giggle mischievously at Manohar's intoxicated look. One day Manohar left a bit early to see a place. But it did not turn out to his expectation. Fed up, he returned home. He knocked on the door. Where has this woman vanished? He was annoyed. Angrily, he walked to the backside of the house and stood stupefied at the sight before him. Saki was coming out of the bathroom. She must just have had a bath. She had draped just one round of the sari around her. Rest of it she had clutched at her bosom. She turned to close the door of the bathroom, and the sight of her shapely pink back, the delicate spinal cord, soft swells of her lower back, the single drape of the sari that stuck to her wet body. He was engulfed by a deep longing beyond his control. Saki, realizing someone's gaze on her, turned around. You? When did you come? He just walked towards her. His chest was heaving wildly, pupils dilated. He couldn't even breathe. He placed his hands on her shoulder. She felt a faint tremble in his touch. His hand slid down. A little pressure of his hands on the small of her back. She shivered. A whimper escaped. She arched her body to meet his. Saki. Words were lost. Both were swept off in the avalanche of fierce, wild emotions. What happened was wrong. I should have controlled myself, he said with self-disgust. She put a finger on his lips. Don't demean such a beautiful act, please. I also desired it. I have loved you, Manohar. I have been waiting for you these many years. I have saved myself only and only for you. I was hoping that someday you will return and make me yours. Now Manohar was happily occupied here. His very own village, the environment he was craving for. His search for land was also turning into a happy experience. And Saki. Saki was an enigma into herself. Her only desire was to keep him happy and content. Sometimes he would remember his family, most of all Barbie. Let me make a phone call from the landline of the corner shop. The network here is a real problem, he would rise. But just then Saki in her most sensuous form would lure him, and before that everything would become insignificant. It has been 4 months since I came. I'm still not able to locate a suitable property here, Saki. And I'm sure this search will take a bit longer. I think I'll pay a running visit to Mumbai. Are you bored with me? He was taken aback by that aggressive tone. With you? He smiled suggestively. It's just that I'm missing Barbie. Have patience. There will be a remedy to it soon. What does that mean? Here comes Mr. Naive. Do I have to tell you in so many words, Manohar? Very soon you will have a Barbie here. What? He screamed. What was that scream for? Don't you want this baby? She had tremendous hurt in her voice. Manohar immediately recovered. He pulled her in a hug. Are you mad? Why are you jumping to conclusions? It's just that you took me by surprise. I had not expected this. He then took care of her displeasure in his own way. Manohar was noticing a subtle change in Saki's behavior. Every passing day was making her more aggressive and domineering. Just a mention of Mumbai and she would start crying insolubly. Even a passing reference about his wife and children would become catastrophe. And Barbie? That was another matter altogether. Hell would fall loose even if her name was mentioned. Manohar would ignore the rashness, abrasiveness, her unreasonable behavior as mental disturbance women face during pregnancy. But sometimes it would become extremely unbearable for him. It would test the threshold of his endurance. Once, while returning from work, he made a call home. He felt so happy and elated talking to his little darling Barbie. Saki, listen. On the way back, I made a phone call home, and guess what? Barbie picked up the phone. Her cat eyes fumed. She banged the utensil she was handling on the kitchen platform and ran out of the house. Her stampeding feet let out angry sounds from her anklet. Saki, wait! Saki, where are you going? Ignoring his calls, she crossed Shirodkar's backyard and reached the well in the salmon's property. She leaned into the well and caught the water wheel. Manohar ran for his life and just managed to catch hold of her. Saki, are you crazy? Let me go. Let me go, Manohar. I don't want to live anymore. You don't want me and you don't want our child. Don't be foolish. Of course I want you and our child. How could I not? You behave so irrationally. I'm shocked at your behavior. You almost gave me a coronary. Never do this again, please. Did you hear me? Manohar, listen carefully. If you leave me, I will jump in this very well. And you, only you will have my death on your conscience. Do not forget this. It was the way she uttered those words with such determination, pointing at the well, gave Manohar goosebumps. Manohar managed to cajole her somehow, tried to bring the situation back to normal. But now Saki disallowed him to even venture outside. Shelf your work for now, no going anywhere. It was like a house arrest for him. He couldn't help but feel sorry for himself and the situation in which he was a captive now. Was he very methodically manipulated into this trap? Nonsense, he thought. This cannot be. He shrugged the thought away. Just one thing that was bothering him was Babi's coming birthday. He had promised her he would be there. There was no way he was going to miss her birthday party. Saki spotted him sitting on the swing in a pensive mood. She tapped her heel on the floor. The anklets trembled. Why such a brooding face? Saki, just hear me out. It's Babi's birthday next week. I have to go. I have promised her I will be there. See, I'll return very quickly. We have already spoken on this topic. You leave and so do I. But I have promised her. I have never ever missed her birthday. Please listen. Try to understand. He pitied himself for having to beg for her permission. What a situation to be caught in. He kicked himself a dozen times. Saki, no more conversation on this topic. If you go, I end my life. Her tone grated on his nerves. Until now, no one had dared to talk to him so flippantly, so dismissively. The implodings turned into volcanic explosion. Look here, I had enough of your threats. I will attend Babi's birthday. Come what may. You cannot hold me a captive here. That's not a threat. It's just an intimation. All right, do what you want. I'll be leaving by the evening train. Your wish, she replied coldly. Manohar went inside to gather his clothes. He heard the sound of Saki's pile anklets receding into the distance. He was startled. He leaned out of the window and spotted Saki approaching the well. He dropped the clothes and ran towards the well. By the time he crossed Shirodkar's backyard and reached Saman's, Saki stood on the railing of the well holding the water wheel. Saki, wait! He screamed. Stop right there. One step further and I jump into the well. Manohar froze. Don't do this. Please, he begged. Why shouldn't I? I gave you my all, strived for you. But you are still with your family, your daughter. You enjoyed my body, but you don't want my child. Is it not so? No, Saki. You have misunderstood the entire situation. I want you and this baby, but I want my Babi too. No, she shouted, her eyes blazing. Choose one. It's either us or Babi, and don't play for time. If you choose us, Babi is dead for you. He felt as though someone had punched him in his stomach. For a second, he could not even breathe. Don't say that. Babi is my life, but along with. She did not allow him to speak further. All right, you have made your choice. But remember one thing, now I won't leave you. You have played with my feelings. You will shed tears of blood. Before Manohar could even blink his eyes, she jumped into the well. Saki! Manohar woke up screaming. He was entirely drenched in sweat, heart beating heavily, legs trembling. He sat still, holding his pounding head in both the hands. He looked outside. The dawn was yet to break. After taking a bath, he went to Shashi's room. Are you ill? What happened? Nothing happened. Let's go to Shirodkar's bungalow. Shama Vaini must be waiting. But look at you. Bloodshot eyes, swollen face. Leave my face alone, Shashi. And a request. Please don't ask me anything for now. Yep, alright. Let's leave right away. They checked out. As they were passing through Saferi's marketplace, Manohar saw someone. Automatically he stopped the car. Janki! He yelled. An elderly woman turned. Thankfully her ears seemed to be in good order. She could not have recognized Manohar. She just looked at him inquisitively. I am Manohar, Saman's grandson. Her eyes sparkled. She moved closer and lovingly patted Manohar's back with her rough hands. I couldn't have recognized you. When did you come? I came yesterday. He was actually not interested in some small talks, but could not gather the courage to ask that particular question. Janki? Our Saki? Saki? She left us. She's no more. What do you mean? Her father arranged her marriage and she didn't want to get married. Saki tried to reason out with her father, but as usual, he was beyond listening. He had taken money from the boy to get him married to Saki. She committed suicide in your well. Janki hesitated a bit, maybe procrastinating whether to speak further or not. Then her face looked decisive. Manohar, she stood on the railing of the well and announced, I have loved Manohar. I cannot think of marrying anyone else. I request, don't remove my anklets. And she jumped. Were these piles made of brass? 2-layered? Yes, they were. We cremated her near the path behind Shirodkar's bungalow. He just could not breathe. Somehow he managed to get inside the car. In the morning when he woke up, he was relieved to know that the entire episode was only a dream and not a reality. The thought of it had raised his spirits. Nothing untoward has happened. I am free. He had decided to forget it as a bad dream and get on with his life. And by sheer chance he had met Janki. He remembered her narration. So the dream was certainly not a figment of his imagination. It was no hallucination. Those piles, anklets, the well, Saki, he had experienced it all, and yet it did not make any sense. Shashi, let's head back home, and you please drive. Sure. Shashi took the wheel. Manohar was extremely restless. He tried to sleep, but he could not. Slightest sound would startle him. His inner battles left him drained and trembling. They halted for lunch. Manya, why don't you order a drink? It will calm your nerves. And you? No, I'm driving, he said firmly. Manohar relaxed after consuming a peg or two. Shashi subtly raised the topic and Manohar narrated the entire dream to the last tea. Both went quiet for some time. I have lost the thin line between the actual and the imaginary. I know it cannot be true. My logical mind doesn't give me the permission to believe in it. But then how do I know those finer details I was unaware of? I don't know much about these things, Manya. But a few years back, I happened to read a book. Somehow that book has left an impression on me. The author has described a similar state of mind as experienced by you. The person in the story is experiencing an event. He is certain that he has lived that event. But in reality, that is not plausible for it to even occur. While explaining the phenomena, the author states that sometimes at a given stage, our mind becomes still. The person goes beyond the realm of the mind frame. Here he is one with the cosmic energy. During this time, the happenings around him, even though seems dreamlike, in actual fact, they are true experiences. He has lived them. And some small indicators are left behind to justify the truth of the experience. God forbid, I don't want any indicators. Let it be a dream. He held his aching head in both his hands and closed his eyes. Shashi dropped Manohar at his sister's Burmese residence. Manohar was unnaturally quiet since his arrival. Everyone was ignored. All he would do was hold Barbie close to his chest until she protested. Today he was feeling much better. He had a nice sound sleep. Must be the effect of the tranquilizers that he had taken the previous night. He now felt relaxed and refreshed in his regular environment amongst his own people. He smiled to himself. Let's treat this as a bad experience and forget it. No need to ruminate over it. Let bygones be bygones, he admonished himself. Just then he saw his wife Nita entering the room with a tea tray. She put the tray on the teapot next to the bed. He looked at her. Really looked at her. She must have just had a bath. Her hair wet were let down on her back. At this age also she looked so fresh and pleasant, like a freshly bloomed mogra flower carrying the morning dew. He pushed the strands of her hair behind her ear and caught hold of her wrist. Wait, wait, she giggled. An explanation seems to be in order, mister. What is this? I found it in your shirt pocket. She held a closed fist before him. He looked at her with a mischievous smile and planted a delicate kiss on a closed fist. She giggled once again. He very slowly opened her fist. A chill ran down his spine. He shuddered. It was the same small ghungru which had dislodged from the anklet that he had put in his shirt pocket.